Every single day, an NFL star celebrates their birthday, and today we are attempting to build a championship roster by using one amazing player from every birthday. The goal is to win a Super Bowl in just one season, but I can only choose one player from every NFL team. First up, let's spin the wheel to see which month we're starting with, and it's November. Now we need to spin the second wheel to pick the day of the month, and it lands on the 25th. There are a number of current NFL stars born on November 25th like Jalen Waddle, Jawan Taylor, Charles Cross, and Blake Corum. This one's a pretty easy choice though. I'm going with the speedster Jalen Waddle as wide receiver number 1. With Jalen Waddle now locked in, the Dolphins roster is now off limits and November 25th is officially retired. I'm just spinning the wheel for the second time, and this time we've landed on May as our month. Now let's see what day we're working with. It's the 31st. Unfortunately, not a lot of active NFL players with a May 31st birthday, but luckily we've got Breece Hall from the Jets and he's officially joining our offense. Here's where things get tricky. If we land on a birthday with no eligible players, I'll be forced to add the lowest rated player from one of the remaining teams. And that could seriously hurt our chances of building a Super Bowl winning roster, so every pick counts. Spinning the wheel again, we land on September. A little fun fact, my younger brother was actually born in September, so maybe it's a lucky month. Now let's see the date, the 2nd. Bill Anderson and Colton Miller are the best options for September 2nd birthdays, but I can't be passing up on Will Anderson, who will now lead our defense. This dude has been an absolute beast since being drafted in the league. And with those 3 birthdays, we can no longer use another player from the Dolphins, Jets, and Texans roster. We are off to a great start, and the next month is going to be December. Now for the date, it lands on the 13th. And rookie tight end Brock Bowers celebrates his birthday on the 13th of December, and he'll be tight end number 1. I could have also gone with Nakobe Dean from the Eagles, but Brock Bowers is poised to have a great NFL career. Our offense is shipping up with some stars, but we've only added one defensive player so far. Time for the next spin, and it's May again. This time, the wheel lands on the 3rd. After looking at May 3rd birthdays, we can go with the McCollum brothers or Arden Key. But Zion McCollum is the highest rated, so he's joining our secondary. And with Zion locked in, the rest of the Buccaneers roster is untouchable. Let's keep this rolling with our next birthday spin, and it ends up landing on June. As for the date, it's going to be the 20th. Derek Stingley Jr. would have been the perfect addition to our team, but we already picked Will Anderson from the Texans, so I opted to bring in Leonard Williams from the Seahawks to play on our defensive line. The next spin ended up landing on March 8th, and the only available option was Kevin Zeitler from the Lions, and he'll play on our offensive line. Spinning again, we're back to December, and this time, it ends up landing on the 25th, which is Christmas Day. Unfortunately, my options are a bit limited here, so Jerome Baker from the Titans will join our defense. Not gonna lie, that was not the best spin, so hopefully it doesn't hurt our Super Bowl chances. With 8 teams already off the board, we don't have a single superstar X-Factor on the team. The next birthday ends up landing on June 6th. And we could go with Kenny Pickett to be our quarterback, but there's no chance he's going to be able to win us a Super Bowl. So let's bring in DeAndre Hopkins to join Jalen Waddle at receiver. The only downside is that he's on the Chiefs roster, so I won't be able to add someone like Mahomes or Chris Jones later on. Keeping this going, the wheel lands on the month of September, and the date is going to be the 28th. Surprisingly, there are 8 active NFL players born on the 28th, and even though Tyler Lockett is the best option, we already used a player from the Seahawks roster, so I decided to bring in Jelani Tavai from the Patriots to join our linebacker core. Next, I spun the wheels twice in a row. The first spin landed on November 4th, and the second on April 2nd. We actually have a really tough choice for November 4th, since Jared Verse and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah are both solid options. This one was tough, but I ultimately decided to bring in Jared Verse from the Rams to join our linebackers. And as for the April 2nd birthday, Brandon Jones from the Broncos is by far the best option, and he'll be our starting free safety. Let's continue by spinning the wheel to see which month we have to use, and it's going to be May. And now, to see which day it lands on, it's the 21st. There are only 2 active NFL players born on May 21st, and one of them is Josh Allen. What a great birthday to land on, as we now have Josh Allen as our QB1. Jumping right into the next spin, it's going to be the month of March again. And the spin is going to be the 8th, again. So we have to respin. This time, the wheel ends up landing on the 15th, so I'm adding Braxton Jones from the Bears to be our left tackle. 2 more spins brings us November 27th and February 2nd. Unfortunately for November 27th, Nick Gates from the Eagles is the best available option, so he'll be our center. Then for February 2nd, it's between Harrison Smith and Talanoa Hufanga. I'm going with veteran Harrison Smith from the Vikings to play strong safety. And just like that, we've accounted for half the NFL teams and our roster starts to take shape. Josh Allen is leading the offense with Jalen Waddle and D-Hop as his key weapons, while Will Anderson is the centerpiece of our defense. It's only going to get more difficult from here on out, and the next month that the wheel lands on is April. And for the day, it's the 28th. Marcus Lawrence, Denzel Ward and Grady Jarrett all share this birthday, but since we can use another cornerback, let's add Denzel Ward to join Zion McCollum. Continuing on, the wheel of birthdays end up landing on August, and as for the date, it's the 20th. I really wanted to add Zach Allen, but we already used a player from the Broncos roster, so I opted to bring in Nick Vigil from the Cowboys, even though he's such a low overall. I then went ahead and spun the wheels twice in a row, landing on May 1st and June 10th right after. For May 1st, the best option was Miles Sanders, who will now join Breece Hall in the backfield. Then for June 10th, I'm adding Dorrance Armstrong from the Commanders to strengthen our defensive line. With those two picks, the rest of the Panthers and Commanders rosters are now off limits. Next up, the wheel takes us back to September, and this time it's the 19th. The best available player? Well, that's Evan Neal, who will try to help our offensive line. The last few spins hasn't really given us any superstars, so hopefully that changes soon, and we're now heading back to February for the second time. And the day ends up landing on the 9th, but unfortunately we have to pass up on Saquon Barkley since we already used a player from the Eagles. But thankfully, Jair Alexander is still an option, and he'll join our secondary as CB1. With only 10 teams left, I'm speeding things up. The next birthdays are July 17th and May 8th. From these spins, I'm adding Keanu Benton from the Steelers to our defensive line and Ezra Cleveland from the Jags to join our offensive line. And right into the next birthday spin, it ends up landing on the month of October. As for the date, it's the 3rd. This is actually CJ Stroud's birthday, but we already used Will Anderson, so the next best option was Asante Samuel Jr. from the Chargers roster, and he will join the cornerback room. We're getting close to filling out the entire roster, and after another spin, the wheel lands on February once again. This time, it's February 11th. The two options are Jake Matthews or Mike Hughes, and I'm opting to beef up our offensive line with Jake Matthews. With only 6 teams left, the next two spins land on April 5th and November 6th. I'm bringing in BJ Ojulari from the Cardinals to add depth to our linebacker room, and then Michael Pierce from the Ravens to join our defensive line at tackle. Now, we've got just 4 teams left, and the wheel finally lands on January for the first time. And as for the date, it's going to land on the 30th. While I would have loved to add Bijan Robinson, we've already selected Jake Matthews, so instead, I'm bringing in Tyquan Lewis from the Colts, who will fill out our defensive line. And next up, the wheel lands on March 1st. Both Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase share this birthday, but since we already used a player on the Dolphins roster, Jamar Chase is now wide receiver number 1. Finally, we're down to the last 2 teams, the Saints and the Niners. The first spin ends up landing on October 10th, bringing in MVS to give our wide receiver room some depth. And the next spin landed on February 21st. But unfortunately, there are no Niners players born on that day, so we have to add their lowest rated player. There was no other choice. And just like that, we have used one birthday from every NFL team. Our offense is stacked with Josh Allen leading the charge, and on defense, Will Anderson and Jair Alexander headline a unit that looks ready to dominate. I did have to add the lowest rated fullback, kicker, and puncher to the team since we weren't able to fill those positions. But the real question remains, did we build a Super Bowl winning team? The opening game of the season is against the Atlanta Falcons, and on our opening drive of the game, Josh Allen was slinging it, making some great reads to his receivers. And in the red zone, Breece Hall managed to take the handoff and fight his way into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. After simming the rest of the game, both teams managed to go back and forth, but it was a team of birthdays that held on to the win. Even though Josh Allen didn't have a passing touchdown, he still threw for 170 yards. Simming the rest of the regular season, the team of birthdays finished with 12 wins and just 5 losses. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough for first in the AFC, as we now take on the Chargers in the wild card game. Josh Allen had an off year, throwing for just under 3,500 yards and only 9 touchdowns. He did manage to rush for almost 500 yards though, with 4 touchdowns, but it was Breece Hall who went off with 1,400 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns. Unfortunately, not one receiver had over 1,000 receiving yards, but Will Anderson Jr. did manage to rack up 14.5 sacks this season. In the wildcard game against the Chargers, our defense managed to get a big step on the Chargers' opening possession, which then led to Josh Allen making some nice throws to Jamar Chase. The team of birthdays kept the drive going, and in Chargers territory, Josh Allen is forced out of the pocket and is eventually sacked by Joey Bosa, forcing us to punt the ball. After simming the rest of the first half, we managed to score 2 touchdowns and have a 14-3 lead. And opening the third quarter, Josh Allen throws a great pass to Jalen Waddle for 28 yards. But after taking the sack, we end up extending that lead with a field goal. The Chargers were unable to score any more points, and we go on to win the wild card game. Next up is the 12-5 Buffalo Bills, who are without Josh Allen at quarterback. And this game was a lot closer than I anticipated, as we only have an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter. The Bills need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie this game, and James Cook manages to pick up the first down. A few plays later, the Bills are faced with a third down. Russ steps back, throws to the right side, but it's intercepted by Harrison Smith, who then takes it the rest of the way for a pick six, putting this game out of reach. We now take on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship game. And they do have the overall advantage, so this one's going to be a tough game. The first 3 quarters was all the Ravens, as they have a 13-7 lead in the 4th quarter. You do have a chance to take the lead here in the 4th. Josh Allen throws a great pass to Jamar Chase for the first down. A couple of plays later, Allen was faced with a long 3rd down, and he has to scramble out of the pocket, but he plants his feet and throws a dot to Jalen Waddle for the first down. Unfortunately, Josh Allen ends up throwing an interception a couple of plays later, and Lamar can put this game away. And on first down, Lamar keeps it for himself and takes off down the field. He's still going, picking up a total of 39 yards. And it was Justice Hill who takes the handoff and rushes into the end zone for a touchdown. And unfortunately for the team of birthdays, they couldn't make the comeback, and we are eliminated from the playoffs in the AFC Championship game. However, it was the Eagles who ended up winning the Super Bowl over the Ravens. Unfortunately, this team could not get it done in the playoffs, but if you did enjoy this video, definitely click on this one right over here. And let me know if I should try this again with birth years next time.